Don't abdicate the responsibility. Anybody besides me ever notice that if you don't address things right away, what ends up happening? It lingers, and does it get worse? Most people in leadership do what they want to do instead of doing what their organization needs.
Can you explain the difference of like trusting your team and delegating versus abdicating?
Abdicating is a big word. What that means is like kings and queens in the past used to like abdicate their right to the throne. Look, I don't want to be the emperor anymore. I don't want to be the king anymore. There's a difference between taking your hands off something and taking your eyes off something. What a lot of you guys do, because I witness it, you actually don't delegate it, you abdicate. So you're like, hey, do this, and you completely take your hands off it and you like don't even pay attention anymore. And that usually doesn't work out very well at all. I can take my hands off something, whether it's transaction coordination, listing coordination. Adeli's was just saying, she's like, yeah, I hire somebody, but then I follow right back behind them and follow their work. It's not actually delegation, but usually the reason why is because I don't have a system that I trust. And usually it's because I don't trust people. It's actually like an internal thing. You don't want to abdicate. What you want to do is delegate, and they're totally different. Being the chief reminding officer, they don't want to do this. How many of you have ever said, well, I know, but like how many of you have ever said out loud and complained that you had to repeat yourself more than once? The deal about the agents, and whether they be agents on your team or agents in your organization, it's your job. They need to know what they should be doing and why. So let me ask you a question. Over the last 3 months, what have me and Jose been only posting content about on our live streams? Presenting low offers. So what are we doing? Making sure that everybody knows what they should be doing and why they should be doing it. And do we have to repeat ourselves over and over and over and over and oh, yes. So I need you to be clear that if you are signing up to be a leader, you are signing up to repeat yourself over and over and over again. And this also requires that you stay informed enough to identify obstacles and problems, right? I think Ruben was telling me, he's like, bro, like, you don't even sell real estate and you know more about like what's going on than like most people do who are actually selling real estate. Because I view it as my responsibility. If I'm gonna bring people to an organization, dude, it's my responsibility to ensure that I equip you with everything you need to be as productive as possible. So here's some leadership reflection questions. Do you believe that managing agents, whether they're on your team or in your org, with guidance is not worth your time? What I mean is spending the time to make sure that they know what they should be doing and why they should be doing it, whether they're on your sales team or they're in your organization, do you view it as a waste of time? Yep. Sometimes. Do you feel that you should be able to trust them to manage themselves? I need you to be really clear. Building anything is about the better the leadership, the faster and the bigger it grows. Leadership is the backstop. It's the bottleneck. Do you justify not knowing what agents are doing by claiming you don't want to micromanage them? Do you justify not knowing what's going on in people's lives and in their business by being like, yo, I don't want to like micromanage them? If your answer is yes to any of these, your motive for leading may be off.
We finally hired a great assistant.
Yeah.
I feel like I can delegate a lot of stuff, but sometimes for myself, and it's like internal, like I still feel like I'm a control freak. Like I needed stuff to get done fast.
Well, usually what's underneath that, and I'm not sure if this is true for you, this is just my direct experience, usually what's underneath that is fear, and I'm actually afraid of losing money. It's like this fear that like if I don't get involved, then something bad will happen and I won't make any money. Does that make sense? So I feel like it's kind of like addressing that. And also having a system that's so good that people can't mess it up. So what I find is what most people do is try to download their brain to somebody by looking at Teddy and being like, yo, this is how you do it, this is how you do it, this is how you do it. I have to talk to you, this is how you do it, this is how you do it, how you do it, how you do it, right? But they actually don't have like SOPs, they don't have Loom videos, they don't have screen records, they don't have screenshots, like actually showing people. So when people tell me that they have an issue like with that, it's either A, trust internally, again, like a fear of loss, or C, they don't have a system. Because like McDonald's, we can all agree doesn't make the best burger on the planet, yeah? Here's what's interesting though, anywhere you go on the planet, it tastes the same. And the reason why it tastes the same is because their system's so good.
I went through something like that when I hired my first assistant, and when I realized it was a communication issue from me to them. Because I would delegate a task, but I wouldn't give them a timeline of when I needed it done. So if you give them tasks and they don't know which one is a priority, they'll treat all of them the same. So now when I communicate with people, I'll be like, hey, I need this CMA, I need it done by today at 12. So that tells them like, hey, look, everything else is not a priority anymore. This has to be done by today at 12. Or hey, look, I need this done. It's due Friday. If you could have it anytime before Thursday, not high urgency. So I think, and I'm not sure if you're doing that already, but if you're not doing that, that's very key when delegating tasks is letting them know what's a priority, what's not a priority, and if there's a deadline attached to something, that'll help you. Because I found myself at the very beginning delegating something and it being 5 o'clock, like, dude, this wasn't done. Like, well, I worked on this, and this. And then I'm like, oh.
I didn't tell you that. Yeah.
So if I trust people on our team to manage themselves, like we work through things, we set expectations, we motivated all these things, right? And we're trusting you to
Do this.
do these things. How does that translate to?
Yeah, so I think it goes back to what I was saying with Abel. Like, it's one thing to take my hands off something. It's another thing to take my eyes off it. And abdication is when I take my eyes off it. I don't pay attention to it at all, right? And you get what you inspect, not what you expect. So like I still, even though, so Carla sends me once a week, like we have this like, it's like a profit first thing where she sends me once a week, like all cash flow in, all cash flow out, and how much is being deposited into the bank account like every month, every week. Now I trust her implicitly, right? I trust Gabriella implicitly. I still look at it. It's not a reflection of the fact that I don't trust her, but I still want to see like, hey, what's going on? Does that make sense? So, because what I'm talking about today is just like leadership, right? And if you're going to want to do something big, it requires leadership, and it requires an evolution out of being the one that's responsible for the results to the one that's responsible for the people that are responsible for the results. Yeah? So like if you listen to like what Abel's doing, he is now transitioning into being the person that's responsible for the people that are responsible for the results, when he used to be completely responsible for the results. If my answer to any of these is like off, like if it's yes, so if I answered yes to like, hey, I feel like I should be able to trust them, or I justify not knowing about what's going on with them because I don't want to micromanage them, then my leadership motive may be off. And I want to re-examine that. Another really important job of a leader is constant, perpetual, nonstop communication. Communicating constantly and repetitively to your organization, whether that be agents on your sales team or in your, downline. Most leaders drastically underestimate the amount of communication that is necessary. As a result, they think they've done a good job communicating a strategy long before everybody embraces it. Story branded content. I've been talking to you guys about that for 2 years and I still see your stupid post at the gym. Write this down. 7 times said is once heard. Right? You have agents on your team and you want to do it a certain way, but you got to tell them 7 times before they hear you once. How many times have you heard me tell people to invite people to events or to do an event themselves? 1 million? And then every time I do, I hear, well, I don't know, and like this, and like blah, 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 da, da, da. Reward centers leaders get bored about repeating the same message. They constantly are telling themselves, I need something different. Because you know what they think? They think the purpose of the communication is their entertainment. They fail to appreciate that the purpose of communicating is not for them. How many times do you think I've talked to agents about price reductions? Do you think I could easily be like, bro, I don't want to talk about that anymore? I could, right? But it's not for my enjoyment. It's not for my entertainment. The best leaders see themselves as the chief reminding officer, which I mentioned. Key messages, strategies, and purpose. So let's say for you guys right now on your team, what's the key message?
I think it's production, and like what we always preach to our team is like, we're here to help you grow your business, not necessarily grow our business. Like our business grows when your business grows.
Good.
The ultimate is like not for us to sit here and feed you 50-50 leads all day long. That's not good for you. What's good for you is us helping you figure out what your strategy is so you can close your deals.
And is there a message with regards to like the market right now that you're driving to them?
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah.
Which is?
Team meetings.
It's always the market's always challenging.
Yeah, good. What's the key message to your team right now?
Lead follow-up.
Lead follow-up.
Like leads are easy.
Yeah, so the message is, look, we have no problem with lead gen. We have an abundance of leads. You need to be focused on lead follow-up. How often do you need to repeat that message? Every time we talk. Do you think there would be a point where you'd be like, dude, I don't want to tell him again? But that would be operating under the assumption that the purpose of the communication is for his enjoyment. So, and key strategies. That's why me and Jose are constantly hammering right now. You need to change your strategy on pricing property. You need to change your strategy on pricing property. Hey, I know I told you 3 times already. You need to change your your strategy on pricing property. Yeah? You need to practice presenting offers that come in less than the asking price. Hey, you need to practice offers coming less than the asking price. You need to practice offers coming less than the asking price. You need to practice over and over and over again. So here's leadership reflection questions on that. Do you resent having to repeat yourself and complaining that agents just don't listen? Do you find yourself being bothered by that? There's some, you feel the energy in the room? They're like, ah. Do you look for new messages and ideas to communicate because you get bored saying the same things over and over? Because it's actually your job to do that. Now, the next job of a leader is to develop the leadership team. So finding agents in your sales business or in your organization that have the capacity or they have leadership qualities and a desire to build. So if you guys thought about it, let's say on your team right now, how many agents you guys have? Like 20 something? Of those, is there one you could think of that has those qualities, leadership qualities and desire? Okay, so here's what's interesting. Once you identify them, your job is to develop them as leaders. A leader must take personal responsibility and participate actively in building a leadership team. If you think that's gonna happen by accident, it will not. I was on a call one time and this guy was like, oh, he has like 20 agents and he was getting discouraged, right? And we have to learn to discipline our disappointments. He's like, yeah, but you have all these people that are built. I'm like, dude, how do you think that happened? Yeah. I spoke to you, how long did I talk to you about doing media?
At least what?
A year and a half. And he did approximately what? Nothing.
Which is dumb.
Right, which is dumb. No, but I saw leadership ability in him. So I took a personal responsibility in developing him as a leader, right? Helping him get through these like beliefs in his mind. I asked him, hey, do you see yourself as like a content creator? He's like, no. I'm like, why not? Where'd you get that idea from? I had to convince him that he could not just be in the crowd, but he could be on the stage. I asked him to do an event. He was like, oh, I don't know, bro. I don't know. What am I going to talk about? Blah, blah, blah. Even though he's been selling real estate for 20 years. I'm like, dude, you could say anything to anybody and it would be good. But it took him a year to do it. First one he did, how was it? Two people showed up. And how did you do? Hey, horribly bad. He sent me the recording. He was like, hey, how was it? I'm like, I mean this with love. It sucked. But are you seeing leadership? And then pointed him in the direction of like, yo, you need to like improve here. He did. And now he's at 40 plus agents. And by the way, the reason that you're here is because I see that ability in you, even if you don't. And even if you don't fully yet. Agents don't do this, or most leaders don't do this because they don't believe that it's central to the organization's growth. That is a complete inaccurate assessment of reality. So yeah.
I think also with that, it's a lot of people be like, yeah, we're our own leaders or anything, but I think for a lot of leaders, it's tough for them to let go and to
yes,
by
yes, 100%. So let's walk through that. What would be a thought process that would cause somebody to feel threatened and not build up a leader? Yeah, it's not enough for me. If they knew everything I knew, why wouldn't they do it on their own? What else? Yeah, if I train them, they'll just leave. You know, I've actually met people who would, like a coach that would tell somebody that if you're ever on a panel and they ask you what you do and that's working, lie. Don't tell them the truth. Isn't that crazy? But think about that from a leadership perspective. That's wild. And here's what I know to be true though. And so even though, and I appreciate your honesty because these are the thoughts that we have and these limiting beliefs that actually prevent us from bringing up other leaders. I read this quote that says, nobody stands taller on the climb to success than somebody that reaches down and brings somebody up with them. And it's actually opposite. So sure, is there instances where somebody might do their own thing? Well, as a leader, bro, I should be like happy for them. And it's actually counterintuitive because like Jessica could do what she's doing anywhere. She won't go anywhere. Reason is because I've taken the time. When I met her, she was in a completely different place. Took the time, poured into her, whatever, and her life has changed dramatically. That's how you get people who will run through a wall for you. I could call people in this room and be like, yo, if I'm in town, I'm like, yo, I need a place. Everyone will be like, yeah, dude, everything's open. That's influence. That's leadership. I've been in front of rooms now for like 10 years. If I'm in a big room with a general population, because this is kind of higher level, right? There could be 1,000 people there. 1% will do anything that I say.
Yeah.
Anything. I've been teaching people how to list property in high volume for 10 years. You know how many people have actually listened? A handful. Yeah, Jose. You know Jose? Yeah, it's true. Bro, Jose, he tried to get in my role play schedule for a year. I kept pushing him away, right? And then he finally got in, and literally everything I would say to him, he would do. Now, he's been the #1 listing agent in his county, Ventura County, for 7 years in a row. I understand that, and I think we have to decide the type of leader that we want to be. So am I telling you to give away like all like the secret sauce? You know what I mean? Like the secret sauce? My experience is that if you are uncomfortable, if you're not uncomfortable with what you're about to share, you're not giving enough. At the beginning of my career, I was hyper focused on my personal productivity. And I turned myself into a person that could be, productive. That requires consistency, discipline, things of that nature. I had this faulty mental map though, which is that I needed to be responsible for all of the outcomes and results.